Welcome to CIT225. First of all, like I said, I know y'all have a lot of different courses going on all at the same time. So I try to keep these relatively short, but like I said, useful. Week one in this course is we're going to talk all about really we're going to just kind of talk about what are we going to learn. I like to approach the course as if you'd never heard of SQL or a database before in your life. So that's kind of like the ramp up. And this week is really just all about kind of getting set up and getting ready. So let me share my screen here so we can walk through a couple things. There it is. Are you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So hopefully the announcements have helped a little bit. I'm going to kind of go through just a couple of housekeeping items just to make sure they're covered. I do record all these, I guess, first off. So if you're going to watch this later, great. That's fine. If you can't make it, I get it. It's an online class for a reason. So anyways, all these are recorded. I try to do it every week. Every once in a while, I have to cancel them. I have a whole backlog of recordings on YouTube. And so if I have to cancel, odds are there's been a recording just like it done previously. Or if you want to work ahead, there's also those recordings available as well. So if you can't find them, let me know. But otherwise, I try to kind of do like this little town square where hopefully we can kind of run through the week. Class structure. We'll back up to that because we'll go through week one just to kind of walk through since it's the first one. As far as late work and rework policy, I feel like I'm super lenient. Basically, I just like to run my class as if it were work. So, there's really no punishment. Just, all I ask is, well, hey, let's be professional about it. And like, if you're going to be doing something, let me know. Like if, hey, you hit Thursday and you're just like, man, like I'm just going to need some more time, just feel free to let me know. And kind of my rule is, hey, if you beat it in before I kind of go do my bulk grading, like don't even sweat it at all. Which I mean, most of you won't know, but usually there's some leeway there, a few days. And like I said, if you're going to be late, if you got something going on, I know some people have already reached out, marriage and children and everything else, just let me know. That's all just let me know and we can work through a lot. And my biggest concern is just to make sure that you don't fall behind, because we all know how easy it is just to procrastinate and it keeps building up. So, that's really my only concern is that you don't fall behind. Okay, so like class structure. So I'm just going to go through week one, and week one, as you guys know, probably not your first online class. If it is, there's a little bit of stuff in week one that usually comes with like a little bit of overhead. So like you have your kind of discussion, your icebreakers and stuff like that, a syllabus quiz on top of the normal. But once we hit week two, we're going to fall into this really kind of standard kind of format where every week we have some reading and preparation, an exercise, a quiz, and then a paper. Same thing like with week three, week four, you'll have some reading, an exercise, a quiz, and a paper. So that's going to be kind of the standard format over and over and over again. So let's just hit week one. So the syllabus quiz, pretty straightforward. The icebreaker, same thing. It's really just you write a paragraph so I can get to know you, because I like to go through and read them. So let's click into preparation and reading, because on a normal week, this is probably where I would start. And actually, sorry, I'm going to back up one. I'm going to retrace my steps. Really where I would start is I would start at the paper, and just so you have like an idea of like kind of what you're going to have to do. So in this course, it's a lot of like free flow type stuff. Like it'll kind of give you some rails to kind of base on, but it's definitely not walled in, so to speak. So as you write things, it's really not even like there's a right answer, wrong answer with these papers. It's really more an opportunity for you to kind of explore. And what I would do is I would use this exploration as a way to guide myself through the learning materials. So for example, in week one, it says and they kind of give you like a role play scenario. I don't care about the role play. If you like it, go for it. If you don't, feel free just to like write it as if it were more research paper. As far as format, I don't care if it's in all those weird, funky formats. I've had people build it in HTML so they can post it on their website or whatever. I don't care. All I care really is about the content. So anyway, so it'll have this scenario. It says you just join a new company, and your manager believes you have a lot to learn. And anyways, it says your manager has explained to you that your ability to work with and solve problems at the command line will directly correlate to your future contributions to the company. And it says your manager has also said that those limited to integrated development environments, IDEs or IDEs, like MySQL Workbench, contribute less to the company. And basically it says your manager wants you to understand the differences between non-relational and relational databases and how relational databases evolve from networked and hierarchical databases. He wants you to install it, which we're going to do. And then it says you should return and report with a 3 to 5 paragraph report that clearly explains why using the MySQL command line shell presents advantages that translate to productivity, and the difference between using an IDE and a command line interface. And it says this paper should qualify what you learned by experimenting with the technology. So this is a pretty standard format for each given week. And I would read through it at the beginning because it's going to kind of highlight like what is the goal for the week. And you can see that it kind of leaves it super open-ended. And the reason why I would start is because then, okay, I understand what's going on. So I'm going to jump back into week one here, and let's take a look at the preparation and reading. And there's a bunch of stuff in here, and you can see that what I would say to this is the book's amazing. I actually really like the book in this course. I think it's worth kind of just reading through. But I also know that there's different learning styles. So if you're more of like the do and learn type, I completely get that as well. So what I would do is I would first start off with these. So every week there's going to be this PowerPoint slide. And I downloaded it instead of opening it up here. There's going to be these PowerPoint slides that are really, really good summaries. So this is where I would start for sure. No matter what your learning style is, I would start here and I would actually just read through this because it's going to be basically the book really condensed with some good examples. Basically just an excellent summary of the week. So you can kind of see how it'll walk you through some of the installation and of MySQL and that kind of stuff. There's also like some web pages like this kind of stuff. Obviously they're here for your benefit. I would not say that you're expected to necessarily just like read and watch them all. I would say use them as more, hey, I'm shaky on this. Is there something here that could help me? Or, or hey, I need help installing MySQL and Workbench. Hey, we can jump here and there's video. And this week we cover 2 chapters, so it actually has 2. And so this one kind of walks you through on how to actually set it up. So the reason why I would start with the paper and then come here is so that way, as you go through things, you can be taking screenshots, jotting down some notes, and your paper will almost just kind of write itself, because that's really what it is. It's hey, like show us like what you learned in your words and how it impacts this topic, essentially. That's really what it is. Yeah, so that's the paper and the reading. As far as the paper goes, it has some guidelines, 3 paragraphs. Every semester I start getting those ones that you can tell they're just like really quick. 3 sentences, sometimes even less in a paragraph. Just because you hit the return line doesn't mean that it's a paragraph, right? Like, what I would say is really jot down those notes, um, and really, screenshots, throw in any bit of code. In these cases, like the pictures really are worth a lot. So throw those in. It'll really help kind of like beef up your paper, because really that's kind of like what we're looking for is, hey, we want to see that you've applied this, that you've taken the time to think about it, and not just kind of like going through the motions sort of thing. So Noah asked, he says, I wasn't able to access the book. Who could help me get access? It says my BYUI email wasn't a valid email. So I actually get this all the time. The biggest thing that people do is when you go in there, make sure you say that you already have an account. So don't click the create a new account, say you already have one. And then once you do that, then it should let you through. We can walk through that. Okay. Yep. Sweet. All right. I'm gonna try. I'll try and find that where it is here. Yeah. So I think you can here. Let's see.
I couldn't find our school listed on that, so I actually just downloaded it on my tablet.
Got it.
This is the point where my email said it wasn't accepted.
Let's try this here. Yeah, so I think if you do that, so once you put it in, it'll say that it doesn't work. So you say, I already have an account. You come here, you type it in, then it works here, and then you can say sign in with SSO.
Awesome.
Yeah, there it is. Every term I even have to like retrain myself because it's just not intuitive at all. So anyways, that's what it is. Yeah, glad you asked. Okay. So anyways, the exercises. Let's actually just preview these exercises. They're pretty easy. Especially week 1. Did you install the MySQL database management system? True. Did you create the student user account? Yes. Did you grant the necessary privileges? Yes, yes, yes. So this week's nice and easy. Super, super easy. Basically just asks you, did you kind of go through everything that we needed there? So and week 2, just to show you kind of like a more real exercise. If you come in here, you can see it'll say, write the SQL statement that retrieves the actor ID, first name. So you're actually going to come in here and kind of write some code. So this is kind of more like practicing. You'll actually like do it in your system and then post the answer here. All right. All right. So let's and then the quiz, we all know it. We covered the paper. So anyways, that's kind of like the housekeeping I want to get out of the way. I know it looks like, I think it's Riley asked Kylie. Sorry, my window wasn't big enough. I had to move it. So looks like Kylie asked, she's having trouble downloading MySQL. So got it. So yeah, so I know it gives you links in the within like the actual assignment. I found that those can change depending on like what they do with their website. So What I've tried to do, let's go in here. So what I've tried to do is give you a link just to go there is probably the easiest way. And I'm on Mac right now. I have a Windows machine. So if we need to, we can troubleshoot, but we can go here to Microsoft Windows. And from here, you can just do this installer. So, and it should automatically go straight here. And actually we'll do 8.034. So make sure you download the 8.0.34. I think it should default there if you're on Windows. And then you can just get the this one right here, the recommended, and it should get it for you.
So it should be 8014.
8034. 8.0.34.
Okay, gotcha. And
you'll
both
just
of
want to
them
make
are
sure
zip for me. Is that what we're wanting?
There's this one up here. There should be an MSI one somewhere. Sometimes
When
it's
I
in
click
like
on that one, it goes to. Okay, awesome. I think I see it.
perfect. Yep. And the biggest thing is like a lot of MySQL actually has like two. They have like the paid version and they have the community, and naturally they want you to get the paid version like most people would. So anyways, if you go to the community one, which is the open source version, that's usually where it gets hung up just a little bit. So and I think when you go to the download page, it's going to try to get you to sign in. Anyways, it's going to try to get you to sign in. You can just actually skip this. There's this little option down here that just says no thanks, start my download, and boom, you can just download it. So no need to sign in. So anyways, let's see if I can get MySQL started here for me, and we'll talk a little bit about what it is. Okay. So MySQL and really databases in general. So there's a few different and it looks like, I don't know, so Melvin, do you need something? I know sometimes it can be on accident, sometimes it can be on purpose.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah. Thank you for the time. I have a question. Last semester I was taking a course, Introduction to Database, and I saw Workbench. So it is my understanding that on the background is running my SQL server. So my question is if I will need to install it again or for any other reason, or is there a difference between the Workbench and the MySQL server I have installed in my computer and the one it is required for this course?
Nope. If you already have it installed, it should work just fine. As long as you can get logged in and everything, should be good.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. So databases, I mean, because we're using MySQL, but they come in a lot of different flavors. So there's a bunch of different products. There's Postgres is one. This is one database system. This is actually my preference. I really like Postgres. There's Oracle that is very popular, just very expensive. So Oracle database is kind of like the OG of the SQL database world, really databases in general. They were the kingpin for a long time. And then there's even Microsoft's variant called SQL Server, which is kind of Microsoft's own version. So they all kind of have, there's a bunch. There really is a lot of different SQL based database servers. Those are kind of the main ones. The four main ones are MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, and SQL Server. So I've been in the industry for 10 years and I've used them all. Even in my current role, I probably use all of them. So we're going to use MySQL. but just know that really what we're focusing on is database, really concepts, data concepts, and SQL. And all of these use SQL. There's little distinct differences. They each have like their own little play on functions and stuff like that. But for the most part, the basis for them is all the same. And the best way I like to describe databases is they're just a collection of tables that we store. And really, I'm using more of like the relational database definition, which you'll read about. But basically, we have a bunch of different tables, and in a typical, like if we're using Excel or something, a lot of times we just throw data in. Well, in these relational databases, we're a lot more fixed. Where we can have multiple tables that link to each other to achieve a bunch of different business results. And that really is like what we're going to focus on in this class is how do we just use a SQL database? Like how do we pull data out, more reporting type style, and then how do we actually build them? So we actually are going to have an option. So instead of taking a final exam, you can actually do a final project where you actually build your own database. So we'll cover that more in future weeks, but essentially that's the goal of the class is we want to, it really is that first big, like, hey, like by the time you come out of this course, you could really do a lot with a database, whether it's reporting or development type work. And I guess a little bit of background on me. I currently work as a executive for a marketing firm, and I run reporting and analytics. So I do a ton of reporting analytics, a lot of ETL type work, which is data movement, pipelining. I run a team that kind of handles all that, as well as a lot of, like I said, a lot of the analysis of the data itself. Is where I spend a lot of my time. But I actually started my career at Oracle. I've done a lot of development work as well, a lot of data engineering. So anyways, I kind of have like a full stack kind of background. So that's kind of how I view the class is, hey, we want to get you at the end to where if you're a data analytics major, hey, you could start doing some nice ad hoc SQL reporting. If you're going into web development, hey, you know what? You could probably set up a database and, kind of start using it, hopefully. Those kinds of things. So anyways, that's kind of the goal of the class. Anyways, I said we were done with housekeeping, but we're gonna actually dive into it now. So I guess another distinction is once you install MySQL, you're actually going to install two things. You're going to install MySQL Server, just like Melvin said, and then you're going to install MySQL Workbench, and they're actually two different things. So most of the time, your database is actually sitting up on a server somewhere. It's sitting on Amazon AWS instance or Microsoft Azure, something along those lines, and you just connect to it. So the database is a server that's running all the time, you connect to it. Well, in a lot of like development type situations, or like us, like we're students, or we're working on our own kind of project, we can also install that same software that would run on the server on our computer and make our computer its own little server to serve us. And that's essentially what we're doing. So, we have MySQL Server installed, it's running. So just so you know, once you install that, when you boot up your computer, it's kind of running in the background. You have a database running. If you're on a Mac, I can't speak to Windows in this sense because it's a little different. I think I can look into it somewhere, but on a Mac, you can actually go to your settings down here to MySQL, and you'll actually see that the instances, I have mine set to not run on startup. So I have to manually kind of come in here and turn mine on every time I want to use it. But I kind of like it that way, just so I know it's not sitting there running in the background. Now, it's not going to do anything to your computer. It's not going to hurt anything. When you're done with the class, you can just uninstall it. It's not going to take up any more really power or anything for what we're doing, because it's literally going to just sit there for the most part. So anyways, But once you install MySQL Workbench, we're going to connect to it, right? So once we set up our server, it's running on our computer, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to call this CIT225 standard, and you'll notice by default, it actually already assumes that it's running on your local computer. And so then when you set it up, it should ask you to type in a password, and you can see I did the test connection. It's going to ask me for my password, and it says, you know, hey, it's successful. If you make it this far, we're golden. And this should all kind of come default. You just kind of give it a name and hit OK. And once we're here, this is basically our connection. So MySQL Workbench, we can connect to multiple databases and they'd all show up here. And this is what the paper referred to as an IDE, an integrated development environment, where basically it's got mouses, it's got buttons, it's got all this stuff, right? And I'm actually going to, before we don't jump into Workbench, I'm going to show you a little trick, because in the instructions, it's going to ask you to hit command line, right? That can always get a little tricky. And to be frank, the instructions make it sound like you're going to use it a lot. We're not. We're going to use it very seldomly. So what I would do is I would say just kind of skip that part, because you have to kind of do some additional setup. Sometimes it doesn't always work across, you know, Windows, Mac, Linux, and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is I just set it up here. And then once you're here, regardless of your platform, you can right click on here and say start command line client. And this is the easiest way, because it'll just do the work for you no matter what you're on. And just so you know, when you type in here, it's not going to do anything, but it's working. Trust me. So you just type in your password, hit enter, and it should work. Now, obviously mine didn't, so I'm going to try again. Apparently, I can't remember my password here. Let's try again. There we go. Just got to not fat finger the password there. So anyways, whether you're on Windows or Mac or Linux, you can right click there, say start command line client, and it's going to do the work for you. So that's how I would say whenever you need to get to command line, that's what I would do. I would just fire up the Workbench, right click it, go for it. And then it's here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these side by side, because we're going to actually kind of go over some of these differences. Because like I said, we're going to use mainly the Workbench. You know, the paper and stuff makes it sound like you're going to need to use the command line, which is true. I think there's a lot of truth in it. You know, the command line is insanely invaluable, because a lot of times you are connecting to servers that aren't sitting right here where you can control them. So being able to connect via command line is super useful, because, you know, sometimes you have to move stuff and all that kind of jazz. So anyways, I'm going to connect here. So here is our connection in here, and essentially we're at the same point, right, in both of these, between the command line and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take actions in the GUI, graphical user interface, in the IDE, and then I'm going to kind of mimic it over here, so you can kind of see the similarities. So we're going to be working with a kind of standard default database called Sequila. And you can see over here, I can kind of hit this caret and then pop open the database and then the tables. And so I can come here and do the thing by saying show tables. But first I have to say use Sequila and then show tables. So here we are. You'll notice it's basically the same list, right? The only difference is this one is buttons and all cool, and this one's just text. But they're the same thing. You'll also notice that you'll see the word schema a lot. And I guess a schema, think of it just synonymously with a database, right? A schema is a lot of times just a database within a database, but it's essentially just a database. All right, so we're here. We have we can see our tables. Let's take a look at actor, right? So I can take a look here in actor, and I can see the columns here, right? So an actor has an actor ID, first name, and last update. So again, I can do the same thing here with describe, and I usually just do DSC for shortcut, describe actor, hit return, and boom. Now this is where we start to see a little bit of some differences. So, this one's nice because we can just get there really quick, but at face value, we don't quite get the same amount of detail. But we can hit this little wrench. So if you hover over this table, there's a little wrench icon. You can click this, and then this does give you some more detail. And we'll talk more about what a lot of this stuff means in the upcoming weeks, but and why it's important. But really, that's kind of what it is. So anyways, you can kind of move around that way. Like I said, I think for beginners, the IDE is definitely more useful. Like I said, it's good to know, like, hey, like, I want to say show tables and see what's in here, and then look and see, hey, what's in the customer table. It's important to be able to do those kinds of things. But especially as you're learning, don't feel like you're stuck in any way in command line. I use an IDE all day, every day. So, it's not going to hurt anything. Cool. Like I said, I want to be super conscious of your time. It's been 40 minutes. One last thing I'm going to show you is just not really to do it this week, but wanted to cover it just so we're all on the same page. So this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be doing, is learning SQL statements. So this is probably the most basic statement you can write, like anything. We can say hello, select hello world, and we can run that, and it just says hello world, right? But this isn't a programming language. It's a query language. And so, yeah, we can query hello world from nothing out of thin air, but really what we want to do is we want to get data. So, we can say select everything from customer. And if I run this, it apparently is going to crash on me. Let's try again here. All right, let's try again. So I'm going to say use Skila. There we go. You'll notice it says like, oh, it was successful. And then we can run this. And then this is where we actually get into the fun stuff where, we actually have some data here. And really what we're trying to do is we can do all sorts of fun stuff. And again, this is more towards the end of the course. But what we can do is fun things like we can say, oh, how many, yeah, we noticed, how many customers how many customers do we have that last name starts with an M, right? Or an S, let's say an S, where last name. Oh, and it crashed. So anyways, we'll try again later because I don't want to keep you guys. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, it looks like some's coming in. So anyways, that's all I have. If you want to stick around for some questions or hear others' questions, that's what I'm going to be doing now. If you don't, feel free to jump off. We'll just kind of keep plugging away through some of these questions. Which version should I download? And if you're on a Mac, Mac OS, so you'll want to do the DMG. So this one right here, DMG archive. That's the easiest one. It's like your normal kind of installer for Mac. So you'll want to do that DMG one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anyone have any other questions? I know, sorry, we ran real fast today. Next week, and this week is largely just getting set up. So what I would say is this week, focus on just getting MySQL installed. If you have any questions, send me a note. We have the Teams. I don't know if anyone's used Teams before. Teams is kind of nice. Kind of gives it that more in classroom feel. I'm quickest to respond on Teams, just because I have my phone on me all the time. I use Teams for work, so I'm constantly getting pinged on Teams. So feel free to message me there. A lot of times other people will beat me to a solution. Another reason I like Teams is odds are someone else has seen it before, so they can answer as well, other students. But you can also send me a note on Canvas or wherever it's easiest. So anyways, yeah, focus on getting installed, kind of get the format for the week. If there's no other questions, hope you guys have a great week and a great rest of your term. Hope all your other classes go good, and let me know if we can do anything to help you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yep. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.